So this is Reagan, and I had the beginning of book 23, lines 1 to 211. The passages to read closely are lines 7 to 10, when the nurse tells Penelope that Odysseus has returned, lines 111 to 118, when Telemachus brings his mother to speak to Odysseus, and lines 146 to 158, when Odysseus describes his plan. My first key question is, what does Penelope do when she first sees Odysseus, and how does she know it is Odysseus? So when she first sees him, she doesn't believe that it's him. She believes she's being tricked and that a gods have put them up to this. And it says, at one moment he seemed Odysseus to the life, and the next he was a man she knew as a huddled mass of rags. So she thought he was just a beggar still, and she didn't believe it was actually him. And she said she would know him by, they have signals. So she said that if it was really him, their signals would prove to her that that actually was him. Next one. What is Odysseus' plan to kill the suitors, and why does he decide to do this? His plan is to put all the women away into their rooms and to declare that the wedding is going on, so any noise that will be happening from the killing of the suitors will just be disguised as, people just think it's the wedding that's going on. And he does that so the killing of the suitors will become a secret. And so people won't plan to kill him, or people won't act upon knowing that the suitors are being killed. So he just lets that happen. What does Athena change about Odysseus, and why does she do this? She changes him by giving him beauty, making him taller, and build more massive, and so he looks like a god. And Athena does this so he looks more like a god, and so that Penelope can actually recognize him for who he is. And he says that he looked, as well as she knew, as well as she remembered, he looked the way setting sail from Ithaca years ago. So she does eventually recognize that it is Odysseus, and that is what Athena was trying to accomplish with that.
So this is Katie doing book 23, lines 212 through 423. So my first key question was, what did Odysseus say to pass the test, and why did Penelope test him? So previously in the book, Odysseus is talking to Penelope, and Odysseus tells Penelope that he's Odysseus. And Penelope doesn't really believe him, so she says, we'll go get you the bed out of our bridal chamber and have him sleep on it for the night. And Odysseus reacts, and he's like, how are you going to move it? It's too big. And then he goes into detail about how he built it. And it ended up being the test that Penelope was giving him, because Penelope wanted to know how Odysseus would react to the bed, and if he would know what it was, how he built it and stuff. And it ended up, and Penelope finally realized that it was Odysseus. And Penelope gave this test to him because Odysseus hadn't been home for a really long time, and she basically had no hope that he was ever going to come home, so she didn't really believe him, and she just thought someone was messing with her, and so that is why she gave him the test. For my second question, I said, what was the prophecy that Tiresias told Odysseus, and how does Penelope react to the prophecy? So Tiresias' prophecy basically says that there's going to be another traveler who comes, and Odysseus is going to have to give a sacrifice to Poseidon to kind of ask him for forgiveness. And then Odysseus will finally be able to die of old age and not from Poseidon killing him. And Penelope reacts actually pretty happily. So it says, Penelope said, in her great wisdom, if the gods will really grant happier old age, there's hope that we'll escape our trials at last. So she's hopeful for the future that they won't have to undergo any more pain and suffering, and they'll be able to last till old age. So for my third key question, I said, what does Odysseus tell his wife after they talk, and why does he want to go to his father? So at the very last page, Odysseus is talking to his wife, Penelope, and it says, Athena, her eyes of fire, had fresh plans. She roused young Dawn from ocean's banks to her golden throne to bring men light, and roused Odysseus too, who rose from his soft bed and advised his wife in parting. So Athena kind of gave the message to Odysseus without Odysseus knowing that he should get up and tell Penelope, like, hey, I'm gonna leave for a little while. Hope this has been a great reunion, and I'm really happy that we're all good now. And then later, he says that he's going to go see his father, because his father's been grieving for a really long time, so he needs to talk to him and tell him that he's back. And why does he want to go to his father? He wants to go see his father because his father's been grieving. He loves his father. They have a very good relationship with each other. Later in book 24, he finally talks to his father, and his father is very, very happy and is ecstatic that Odysseus is finally back. And they celebrate with a feast. So that is the end of book 23.
All right. Hey everyone, this is Maddie Green. I'll be doing book 24, the beginning part, lines 1 to 301. Now my first passage to reread will be Achilles' Glory, 37 to 102. And in this part, my question is, how is Achilles honored upon his death, and why does death on the battlefield hold so much more cultural meaning for the Greeks? Now, in this situation, Achilles is talking to Agamemnon, and they're just going through, and Agamemnon is telling Achilles about how they honored him upon his death with all these great feasts and death games, I believe it's called, and all sorts of other things, and it shows you how much more glory is given to dying on this battlefield, and gives you insight to these Greek customs for death compared to Agamemnon, who was murdered at home in disgrace and whatnot. Then we have the suitor's tale of their murder, lines 1 to 92 to 209. In what manner is Odysseus described, and why does the suitor seem almost distraught over the lack of honor for their bodies and the fact they died? So in this thing, instead of cursing Odysseus almost, it describes him as this powerful presence. It lacks this general concern or revenge they want against Odysseus, which I thought was an interesting fact. And the suitors seem very distraught, not over the fact that they died, but the fact that their bodies are not being taken care of. And I was going to say this has to do with Greek cultural honor. They want to be honored in some sort of way instead of dying in complete disgrace and shame. And my last my last little paragraph to reread is Agamemnon's praise of Penelope, lines 210 to 223. What does Agamemnon say about Penelope? How is it a representation of her strong, comic, feminine action? What are the differences in Penelope and Agamemnon's wife that allows Odysseus to retain his free will while Agamemnon did not? So I have two questions there, which both correspond with it. And so first off, what does Agamemnon say about Penelope? Well, he's basically praising her for having, Odysseus' wife being this strong, powerful, loyal, and how Penelope will be renowned along the lands for being this strong, loyal wife, and how it, basically saved everyone. She'll be honored for centuries. And this is a strong feminine action because without this action, this loyalty to Odysseus, she could have married someone else and Odysseus would have never come back and be able to be king again, therefore completely getting rid of any free will he would have in that situation. And then my second question were the differences in Penelope and Agamemnon's wife that allows Odysseus to retain his free will. Well, like I said, Agamemnon's wife, Clytemnestra, I want to say her name is, when upon Agamemnon's return, she helped to plot his death and she killed him. While Penelope, she stayed loyal to Odysseus and in a lot of ways was helping Odysseus through this feminine action that allowed it to retain a comedy feature instead of a tragedy. And it's those differences that allowed Odysseus to, remain king when Agamemnon, he died. Of course, he did kill his daughter, but still. Agamemnon's life was a tragedy. Odysseus's was a comedy. And that's my points for the day. Hope you liked them.
And I'm doing book 24 from lines 302 to 602. My first key question is, what did Athena command to Odysseus and how does it reflect Athena's consideration of Ithaca? The suitors' family came to revenge to Odysseus, and Odysseus and his comrades ready to fight. However, Athena stopped them, saying, "Royal son of Laertes, Odysseus, master of exploits, hold back now. Call a halt to the great leveler. War, don't court the rage of Zeus, who ruled the world." These Athena's words reflect Athena's consideration of Ithaca by showing that she is considering about Odysseus' family and the save of Ithaca. She didn't want any disaster anymore, and she hoped him to be safe and prepare for his next journey, spending his time with his family. However, if the battle is outbroken, the whole Ithaca will be destroyed and it becomes meaningless that Odysseus comes back as a king of Ithaca. So Athena led Odysseus to flee the suitors' family away. On the other hand, Athena was also concerned about Zeus's madness because she knew that Zeus comes at last after he sees all the things. The second question is, in what way did suitors' family change their mind after Madon talked, and how does it demonstrate the regained power of Odysseus? In lines 471 to 484 and lines 501 to 509, it is found the suitors' family changed their mind. Madon talked to the suitors' family that Odysseus killed all the suitors without borrowing the gods' power, and also the gods are on the Odysseus' side. At first, suitors' family thought that they should go to kill Odysseus. However, after they heard these words from Madon, they changed their mind that they should flee as soon as possible and pray the gods for their safety. This demonstrates Odysseus regained power by showing that Odysseus got enough power to threaten the attackers. The king of Ithaca has returned. This is very honor to both Odysseus and to his family. The third question is, how did Odysseus test his father and how does it reflect the belief of Odysseus? In lines 339 to 357, Odysseus pretends as if he's a man from another city, and he once came to Ithaca 5 years ago with Odysseus, and he saw the reaction of Odysseus' father. This is very different from how he tested his family. Like, for example, to Telemachus, he just told Telemachus that I'm your father, and to Penelope, Penelope tested him first because because Odysseus was told about Penelope from Telemachus that his wife is waiting for him a lot. It is closer to the way that he tested to the suitors if they were innocent or not. It is not. It is very different from the original way that Odysseus tested his family. It reflects the belief of Odysseus by showing that Odysseus believes his father, but nobody proved that his father is on Odysseus' side because his father was hidden in somewhere to be safe. So Odysseus' belief to his father is like a love to his family, but also on the other hand, he is doubting and being afraid of his father not being on his side.